Who would have guessed that the one issue on which Republicans and Democrats could agree nowadays is foreign aid? I find this just extraordinary that this very diverse commission, in fact, agrees on a lot. They agree that we ought to do more for development. They agree that we need a strong, unified structure of foreign assistance within of development within the government. And I think most importantly, they agree that the President and Congress of the United States need to forge a grand bargain, that we need a rewrite of the Foreign Assistance Act. So for us, it's all to the good. I also want to advertise this supplemental report that several of the commissioners put out, which pushes a little bit further on some of the recommendations. I think it's, makes it even better. And I want to just flag some of the things I think are good about this. One is this is Leo Hendry, Jeff Sachs, and Gail Smith. And they argue that we ought to be clear that our goal is to reduce poverty. And I just think a lot of what's wrong in U.S. foreign assistance is confusion about goals. And especially when programs try to do both security and poverty, poor people usually get left with the short end of the stick. So being clear that we're about poverty would be a real advantage. I also like the fact that this supplement calls for a bold expansion of funding for poverty-focused development assistance starting now. We do have some very effective mechanisms. So we don't have a pretext for waiting around to start putting more money into reducing poverty. I prefer the suggestion of a Department of International Development because the Commission as a whole says we ought to keep security and development programs separate. You ought to have a pot of money that's just for development. But if you then put it into some kind of super state department and into a budget that includes the Defense Department and diplomacy and development, I'm concerned that you'd end up with programs with mixed motives. And another thing I like about this report is it's a stronger emphasis on cooperating with the rest of the world, putting more money in multilateral channels, working with other donors, other governments, and using the Millennium Development Goals as the framework for what we're doing. That's the way the rest of the world is thinking.